A highly significant and symbolic moment for the Irish Republic, but it will have an impact on politics across the whole island and in London. Chris Page, BBC News, Dublin.
President Trump says discussions about his possible meeting with the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un in just over 2 weeks are going very well. Earlier this week, Mr. Trump pulled out of the summit, blaming Pyongyang's hostility. The president's comments follow yesterday's surprise meeting between Mr. Kim and the South Korean leader Moon Jae-in. Laura Bicker reports from South Korea.
Embracing for a second time, the two Korean leaders look much more like new friends instead of decades-old enemies. The meeting was called by Kim Jong-un, who seems eager to salvage his summit with President Trump.
Kim Jong-un reaffirms his strong will for denuclearizing the Korean peninsula.
That's what the White House wants to hear. They'd even created a special summit coin, but officially the meeting is off. Or is it?
So we're looking at June 12th in Singapore. That hasn't changed. And it's moving along pretty well.
At the border, tourists from the south come to catch a glimpse of a land they have never known. It often feels like the razor wire and landmines don't exist. And when their leaders meet so easily at such short notice, it makes them feel that one day that might be possible. Each one of these ribbons tied to the barbed wire fence represents a hope for peace. And if they were looking for signs that this time might be different, they got it. Kim Jong-un is showing that he's willing to engage on a level that his father and his grandfather never were. But fundamentally, one problem remains. Is he willing to give away his nuclear weapons? But people here are eager for the US and North Korea to at least try, as this is the closest they've come to peace in decades. Laura Bicker, BBC News, Paju.
With us is Jim Hoare, former diplomat who set up the British Embassy in North Korea and had postings in Seoul, Pyongyang and Beijing. Thank you very much for joining us. How much preparation normally goes into organising a summit like this?
Well, there are occasional rapid summits, but generally you spend quite a long time preparing before such an event takes place. You brief your principal, in this case the President of the United States and Mr. Kim Jong-un. You then have meetings, you arrange the agenda, you arrange all sorts of things, entertainment, arrival ceremonies, everything like that, just so that when it happens, it doesn't matter what's going on behind the scenes, but the whole thing goes smoothly and straightforwardly. And that takes time.
And how publicly would you normally do that?
Not a lot. Normally, the things I was involved in, there was a lot of discussions went on behind the scenes. Now, the world has changed. There's much more press attention and media attention generally, and things leak out. But still, you do an awful lot of the work quietly, in case things go wrong, and then everybody can back away without loss of face, or in case you meet a major problem and you have to spend extra time sorting that out.
So as an onlooker, how unusual have the preparations been for this summit?
Well, I think the whole thing all seemed to happen very quickly. Mr. Kim apparently issued an invitation through the South Koreans there to arrange the North-South summit. And they told the President in the United States, and he immediately said, go public, and himself went public. So you've got no agenda except what the United States wants. You don't know what the other side is looking for, how they will handle it, and you've then got to deal with all that in the glare of publicity, and that makes it much more difficult, I think.
Why does any of that matter then, as long as they get to the table and they start to talk?
It matters, I think, because there isn't a agreed agenda as yet. The United States has said we want complete end of the North Korean nuclear program. The North Koreans rather bridled at that, especially when it was linked to what might happen if they didn't do it.
Pointing to Libya.
Pointing to Libya. I mean, you know, that isn't a happy precedent. So they began to make very loud noises. But on the other hand, Mr. Trump, I think, feels he wants this meeting, thinks he can handle Kim Jong-un. The danger is, I think, that Mr. Trump will, from past evidence, not be terribly well briefed. He doesn't seem to read a lot of things. Whereas all accounts of Mr. Kim are that he will know his stuff. He will have read the documents, he will know what the issues are, and that will mean that he is, I think, in a strong position.
How likely is it that this summit in Singapore, slated for the 12th of June, will actually take place?
Ah, now there you're asking. I suspect now that Mr. Trump has sort of come around to the idea of holding it after all, that it might well take place. Whether it will solve the problems, whether it will reach an agreement that each side can be happy with, I am still rather doubtful. But you never know. Things can sometimes happen. Chemistry can sometimes work. They might get on. It might all be smooth and peaceful.
It might be.
But it might not.
It might. Could go either way. Jim Hoare, good to meet you. Thank you very much for coming in. Flights at Stansted Airport have been seriously disrupted following thunderstorms last night. A lightning strike disabled the aircraft fuelling system, leading to cancelled flights. The storms... There they are. The storms and torrential rain swept across southern Britain overnight with those spectacular displays of lightning. Around 15,000 strikes were recorded. The Met Office has issued a yellow warning for heavy rain and flooding across Wales and most of England today. Thousands of disappointed Liverpool fans are returning home after last night's Champions League final defeat to Real Madrid. But their disappointment will be as nothing to the anguish and dejection felt by Liverpool's goalkeeper, Loris Karius, whose errors handed the Spanish side 2 of their 3 goals. From Kiev, David Ornstein reports.
Real Madrid, champions of Europe for a 13th time. Liverpool, heartbroken. The Reds arrived with dreams of another famous triumph, but soon suffered the cruelest of blows. Mohamed Salah, their inspiration all season, hauled to the ground and forced off, inconsolable. The key threat removed, Real could rally and were